There was also a prophet, Anna, the daughter of Phanuel of the tribe of Asher. She was very old, had lived with her husband 7 years after her marriage, and then was a widow until she was 84. She never left the temple but worshiped night and day, fasting and praying. Coming up to them at that very moment, she gave thanks to God and all who were looking forward to the redemption of Jerusalem. Those words are about me. A lot of you don't know me. Like most of the women mentioned in the Bible, I'm not spoken of so much. But unlike many of those women, I have a name, and it is Anna. An old woman, you say. You're right, over 100. An old woman of the tribe of Asher, daughter of Phanuel. And I've lived here at the temple in Jerusalem ever since my husband died over 80 years ago. 100 years! But I've had time you never had. Maybe you never will have, who knows? Time to watch the setting sun dip behind these tall spires. Time to see the evening shadows fall across these stone walls. Time to count the stars that lighten the Judean sky. Time to rejoice in each dawn that breaks in all its color. Have you that much time? Or like so many I see, are you in too big a hurry to enjoy God's beauty? Here in the temple on Mount Zion, I've lived through just about everything. Long years of war. I've watched our men go out whole and strong. And I've watched them come home weak and broken in the head as well as the body. And I've ached over the women, like me, who are left at home to worry and mourn. No, I have no children. You feel sorry for me? Well, don't. I've lived long enough to accept what cannot be. But you see, I do have children. Parents bring their babies here to the temple 40 days after they're born. That's the Jewish custom. They are my children. All these years I've watched the children come. You see, I read the law every day. And I know there will be born a king, a rod out of the stem of Jesse. And so every day I watch for that king because he will have to be presented here at the temple. A star flashed into our sky not long ago, and that's a sign. A child, perhaps that is the child I waited for so long. The days grow dark. The foot of Rome falls heavy upon the neck of the Jews. But not so dark. For yesterday, as I stood at the gate called Beautiful, I saw this young woman and a tall, dark man. They were from the country that they were from the country. They were uneasy here in Jerusalem. The man carried the baby, a child wrapped in a blanket. I watched them cross the large open space there inside the temple walls that's called the court of the Gentiles. They rested for a moment on the steps, that part that isn't covered, and stopped there in the sunshine. The woman lifted the blanket from the baby, and when she smiled, there was something about her face. I don't know, I can't describe it, but I did something I've never done in all these years. I left the beautiful gate and started after them. They walked up the 12 steps leading into the court of the women. That's that high area like a terrace above the outer court. And me, old Anna, walking slowly behind them. They saw Simeon standing by the altar, saying the prayers, surrounded by all the mothers and fathers who had already come to bring their children. The woman and the man stopped, and I heard the woman murmur in a concerned voice, "Oh, Joseph." He took her hand and said, "Come on, Mary. There's no turning back." And then Simeon, he's the priest who circumcises the Jewish babies. Simeon stopped his prayer. Just like that, he stopped. And he turned and walked through all the people waiting at the altar. Walked right up to the tall, dark man and the woman called Mary. Simeon lifted the blanket and looked at the baby. He would look up at Mary and Joseph and then back at the baby. His old eyes shone with tears, and his voice trembled. And I heard him say, "Now, Lord, you have kept your promise." And he lifted the child in his arms and walked with him to the altar. The man and the woman said nothing. The husband looked dumbstruck at the floor. But Mary stared at Simeon. And as he talked on, she looked as though a sword had pierced her heart. And I went over beside Simeon and looked down at that child, a sleeping child, unconscious of all the joys and fears swirling around him. Even through the temple walls, we could hear the quick, heavy footsteps of Roman soldiers. Could it be that when evil shows its face, it is then he comes? The one who frees humanity by secret way, the way not yet understood. You would dismiss this as the ramblings of an old woman. Whatever you think I saw there, the promised Messiah, the hope of Israel, the Redeemer of the world, there, wrapped in a blanket, I saw God. My life is blurring. No matter now. My eyes are going, doesn't matter. You may smile and think these are only the mutterings of the senile, the blind staring at nothing, out of nothing. No. Let your eyes catch the light that streams from a star over Bethlehem. Now I can leave this earth. I can die now. Let me go. I pray to go now. Because these old eyes have seen the one, the King, the child who came as love.